Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is now 7 p.m. and we are live online.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to our City Council meeting for May 6th. I'm Pam Weatherby, the Deputy Mayor, and I will be presiding over this meeting tonight. Just doing, I call to order. Okay, now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll start with public comment, and we have one person signed up on, roll call. I'm sorry, going right through it.
Don't be sorry.
Okay, I see we have Molly Rhodes here, and Amber is here, and Dan, and Paloma, and myself. Jeff Demansky is excused for tonight, and I understand, is Lee online?
Yes, Pam. Yep.
Yes,
Good
I
evening.
hear
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And we also have Nick Ward-Willis here, our attorney, and also our city administrator, Chris White. Thank you. All right, now we'll do public comment. And the only person signed up on the sign-up sheet is Dennis Pavlak. Feel free to come forward.
I have two comments tonight. My first is going to be, I'd like to reiterate my comment regarding the Route 52 corridor regarding a grocery store. And let me clarify, if I didn't clarify it then, I want to clarify it now. I would not want to see an affiliate of Key Food be part of the grocery store. City of Poughkeepsie has two grocery stores other than what they have on their main street now, and one of them is Associate Grocery Store, named Associate, and it fails to recognize the other name of another grocery store they have on there, so I wanted to clarify that comment as well. My second comment is, I didn't know Beacon's property extends to Israel. I didn't know our property extends out that far. Of course, I'm being facetious when I say that. However, regarding passing the resolution regarding that, as the Poughkeepsie mayor said, paraphrasing, not important enough. How did that help Beacon's? How did that resolution help Beacon's constituents from getting their issues helped around their house or on their street? And I know if I walked around door to door, I could probably find a lot. Everything is done as it has an action and a reaction. You acted, and some of the residents acted by graffiti in our buildings. If you look real close, you can find some more graffiti between the buildings. So I drove down real slow one day and I looked between the buildings. There's more graffiti on our buildings. There's more graffiti on the Toronto Bridge. So that's what happens when we act. And I don't believe it was important enough to do that resolution myself. When you were sworn in, you took an oath. Help here first. We need help here first.
Fifteen seconds.
And also, I remember when I was involved, I did your job for free. Although I was 24/7. Somebody called me 11 o'clock at night. What do you need? I said, how can I help you?
Your time has elapsed.
6 a.m. on Easter Sunday, 2006, I was changing someone's flat tire so they can make it down to the city with their kids the next day for a for a hearing. Let's know our priorities, folks, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to make public comment?
Clark Edmond, 2 Wilson Street. Dennis, you couldn't be more wrong, but moving on. I'd like to speak in opposition to the proposal to accept the responsibility for sewers at the, whatever they call it, the 300-unit apartment complex by the station. For $100,000 in return. The last line kind of tells it all. I read that, okay, the actual installation and how it all goes is up to the staff. There is no map attached to this resolution. It is malfeasance to go ahead and pass something without having a descriptive presentation that this system is being installed to code plus. And what I mean by plus, what I mean, it should have all the bells and whistles and have a rating in terms of how long it's going to last and what the rating should be. It is criminal malfeasance to saddle the city of Beacon taxpayers with the private $480 allowance given by the $100,000 per unit of privatization or public, making a private sewer system public. If there is a problem in my sewer in my front yard, it's my responsibility to pay for its repair. We're relinquishing that responsibility from the owner, private enterprise, to the city of Beacon. But it's not just that comes in the criminal malfeasance. Let me give you another example. It is now quite clear that the pollution, PFAS, that is in the groundwater from Texaco is injurious, and there are many communities and government regulations now that make it illegal to be in the drinking water. At least some communities are taking that position. But here we have a city attorney who's a Texaco attorney simultaneously that signed off that it's okay and we don't have drinking water wells. Now, granted, he did say a couple months ago that he wasn't a city attorney, or he wasn't an attorney for Texaco any longer. But when the operative documents were settled with the state of New York, he was, and his signature attached to the documents as Texaco's representative. And the underlying documents talk of the pollution and say the city of Beacon, the municipality, does not have
15
well
seconds.
water. It's criminal, and you're, as council members, criminally negligent in allowing this not to be investigated and better understood by this public.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a public comment?
I know there's a thing in there, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 whatever, survival, and that water is polluted, and Beacon is all the way polluted. I totally agree.
Just your name for the record.
My name is Teresa Kraft. I live in Beacon, Ward 3. I wanted to attend your workshop meeting in person, but unfortunately I got hit by a hit-and-run driver on Main Street, leaving me stranded without a car. Our city doesn't have many transportation options, so I had to watch the meeting live via Zoom. I noticed that there was a brief discussion about Beacon and Fishkill wanting a larger role in the Fjords Trail outcome. However, the discussion was not in-depth, and I don't think much more was discussed with the council behind closed doors. I believe that the letter sent to the Fjords Trail organization on behalf of the city of Beacon and the town of Fishkill lacked reasoning behind the ask. That letter does not represent the consensus of the majority of the people. Many residents and adjoining communities have expressed their concerns, and I think if you want to move this forward, it must go before the city residents as a referendum so that they can vote and decide what they want, what we want for our future. Thank you.
Anyone else like to make a public comment? Ben, is there anyone online who'd like to make a public comment?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment tonight, you'll need to use the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen. If you're joining by phone, you'll need to press *9. If you're watching on YouTube, you will need to join the Zoom link by visiting beaconny.gov and going to the calendar link for tonight's meeting. As of now, we have no hands raised online.
Thank you. All right, now we'll do reports. I'll start with Molly.
Sure. First of all, I would love to thank the volunteers and staff members who made the River Keepers River Sweep along the Hudson River possible this past weekend. I got to take part in one of the sites along Dennings Point, but there were multiple sites both in Beacon and along the Hudson River, and so it was great just to see this annual tradition continue and just so many volunteers who came out to help. I also just want to announce that my office hours are next Friday, not this coming Friday, but the Friday after, May 17th, at Pole Hill Park across the street from the building we're in now, from 4 to 6 p.m. next Friday, May 17th. And then if it's raining or otherwise too cold, it'll be in the Bank Square Coffee House at the same time. And I'll pass it to Amber.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to mention, because a constituent reached out to me about it, the Beacon Bicycle Coalition is hosting a walk, ride, and roll to school day. May is National Bike Month, and this group will be biking to Sargent and South Avenue schools. They are gathering at the Loopers Plaza basketball court and then riding together over there through kind of back roads. And so they are going to meet at 7:45 on Wednesday. If you would like to join with a student and walk or ride to school, that would be a nice way to do it, and I hope the weather cooperates. And I think this is the first time they're doing it, and that should be really fun. So so hopefully you can join them, and that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also looking forward to that event. I believe there are actually a couple of different meetup spots depending on what school you're going to. But if you just look up the details with the Beacon Bicycle Coalition, I'm sure you'll end up in the right spot. May is a lot of different month days. I'm glad that there's going to be a proclamation in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. Just wanted to note from the presentation that we received a couple of weeks ago that some, I think, interesting stats are that 1 in 5 youth experience mental illness, and that those numbers have increased by 18% for young adults through, I believe it was 2020. And if you are experiencing a mental health crisis or looking for support, especially if you have an 845 number, if you just call the number 988 instead of 911, you'll be connected to the Dutchess County Helpline. You can also just reach out to them at 845-206-9892 for the Stabilization Center in Poughkeepsie. And let's see, May is also Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And as a Japanese American, I wanted to recognize the benefits and contributions of Asian immigrants to this country. I'm going to try and keep it short and just leave it at that. But also wanted to recognize, because I have a long list here, May is also Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Month, which calls attention to the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit, and trans people. Native women are 10 times more likely than the national average to be murdered, with murder being the third leading cause of death of women between the ages of 10 and 24. There are 8 federally recognized tribes in New York State, and want to note that the people who's occupied what we now call the Hudson Valley for many generations are largely displaced now to Oklahoma and Wisconsin. I also want to quickly note the connection between this epidemic and extractive industries such as fracking, coal, oil, and lumber, having particular impact by not only disrupting and exploiting the land, but serving as sites of dysregulation or lowered regulation, and therefore sites of sex trafficking and other forms of modern-day slavery in the United States. These are all topics of national importance and national awareness.
My office hours are this coming second Sunday, which is my usual time. That's Sunday, May 12th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at Memorial Park. I'll be by the public mural restrooms. Thank you.
All right. It's been a few weeks, but we actually haven't had a meeting since, but I just want to thank everyone who came out for Earth Day to do the cleanups around town. It's one of my favorite events that we do each year. This year I was lucky enough to be joined with friends and neighbors down by Fishkill Creek, where we did some plantings and observed a lot of Japanese knotweed that needs to get out of there. But I just want to thank the hundreds of people who came out. I mean, I saw photos from almost all of the crews, and they were so well attended, and it's just such a great thing. And one thing that I heard was that there's been less and less to clean up every year. So great job, everybody. Last thing I have is that I will not be able to do office hours in the month of May. I have to travel this month to take care of a loved one. So I'll be back in June, the third week of Sunday, from 10 to 12 at Trex. Thanks.
Thank you. And I can't remember if it's the mayor first or we asked you two first. The mayor. Okay.
The council and mayor.
Okay. Yeah, it feels like it's been a while, but just reminding everybody, fire hydrants are getting flushed this month. There is a schedule on the City of Beacon website. Also, some of you would have gotten your assessments in the mail, and while I missed the last workshop, thank you all for getting more knowledge on that. Grievance Day is Wednesday, May 29th. The typical increase is 6%, so if you're at 6% or below, you're along with the rest of the homeowners, property owners in Beacon. But if you do have any questions, you could contact 838-5025. Also, I attended the Zoom meeting of the Fishkill Avenue Concepts Committee last Wednesday, and this was a great opportunity for just residents to attend. You couldn't talk, you could just listen and see the presentation, and it was a great meeting, and I really feel that that committee's doing good things, and I'm hoping that the recording is going to be available soon so I can share it with some other residents to watch. Also wanted to get if there's an update on when the Memorial Park, the toddler park area, when that will be completed. I know there's been some delays between weather and other things. And also had some residents asking about the yellow blinking light on Route 52 at Mill Street. Is that something that would be replaced? They said they kind of helped in that area. And one other thing, just there was the drug take-back day on 427 by Cape, and they said their coalition, they collected 66 pounds of medication that people have in their house, and just to turn it in. So that is a lot, and it's great that that organization does that. That is all that I have to report. And Nick, do you say anything?
No, you have Lee.
The mayor.
Oh, Lee.
Yeah.
There you are. You're here. Lee, do you have anything to report?
No, other than thank you for sharing the meeting. I'm away. Greek Easter was yesterday, May 5th, and I just spent it with family on the West Coast and managed to get a California cold while I'm out here. And that's about all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Chris.
Okay. Well, you talked about hydrant flushing, which is important. If your water is discolored or you lose pressure, please check our website. We have a list of the streets that we're going to be operating in through the end of the week of May 20th. And if you do have discolored water, please just let your cold water run and it'll eventually clear. Bulk garbage. Each year we accept bulk garbage for free up to 250 pounds at the transfer station on Dennings Avenue. We're starting that again on the third Saturday of May, which is May 18th, and that will run through the third Saturday in September. So As long as you are current on your taxes, your property is current on taxes, either the resident or the owner can drop off up to 250 pounds. The toddler park, we are trying to get done as quickly as possible. We've had delays due to rain and the inavailability of the vendor who's pouring the rubber surface. But we are trying to get that done as quickly as possible, and we'll announce when that park is reopening.
Great. Thank you. All right. Now there is a proclamation in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month.
No. You're doing everything perfectly. No notes.
So the proclamation from the City of Beacon declaring May 20, 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is essential to the well-being and the vitality of our families, businesses, and communities, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, with 1 out of 5 Americans and 1 out of 5 children affected by mental illness, and whereas more people die from suicide in the United States than from traffic accidents, and an estimated 22 veterans die from suicide each day, and whereas stigma and fear of discrimination keep many who would benefit from mental health services from seeking help, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas education, compassion, and awareness about mental illness can change negative attitudes and behaviors towards people with mental illness. And whereas each business, school, government agency, law enforcement agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen share the responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Now, therefore, the City of Beacon does hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month. And as representing the mayor, I also call upon all of the City of Beacon citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illnesses, reducing stigma and discrimination, promoting appropriate and accessible services for all individuals. And signed by Lee Kyriakou, Mayor, on 5/3/2024. Thank you. Okay, now on to local laws and resolution. We have resolution number 38, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with the Beacon Sloop Club for use of a floating dock in the Beacon Harbor. And we are going to hear more about that from Nick.
Thank you. So good evening. So this was workshopped at your last workshop meeting, and it's an agreement that the city had previously with the Beacon Institute, who has now transferred the rights to the floating dock to the Beacon Sloop Club. So by this agreement, you're authorizing the Beacon Sloop Club to maintain its floating dock, which is about 180 feet in length and 6 feet wide, to be connected to the city land on the shoreland by the in the harbor. On page 9 of the agreement is a map depicting that area. The term of the agreement is an initial term of 5 years, and then can be renewed by either party, with that authority on the city delegated to the city administrator for 2 additional terms of 5 years each. The compensation and or the consideration is consistent with the fees set forth in the city schedule for the harbor. And it is also allows for the Bannerman's Castle Trust to use the floating dock as well, and also other individuals who negotiate agreements with the Beacon Sloop Club would have access to the floating dock.
Okay. Ben, I'm just wondering if you could put a picture of that, of the Exhibit A, showing that for people who were not able to see it either in the packet or at the workshop.
Also, Acting Mayor, do we need a motion to discuss this?
Well, after I'm ready, you can now ask for a motion, yes.
Can I get a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Okay.
I can put the visual up if you'd like.
Thank you. That was first by Dan and second by Molly. Okay. Now we can discuss.
I was curious, in the actual resolution, there's a comment in the second whereas to allow for certain improvements and use of city property, so I know it's adjacent to city property, kind of that area around there. I'm just wondering if there's, I looked through the details and I couldn't find mention of what particular improvements. I didn't know if there are picnic tables or other things just to make it an area or kind of, or anything had
No,
been
the reference to
discussed
the
yet.
improvement is really just for shore connection and also then granting them the ability to maintain that area.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And we are adding picnic tables down there. If, this is on the south side of the harbor,
Right, yeah.
and there's a small piece of city land that adjoins Scenic Hudson's Long Dock property. We've cleaned that up late last year, and then we poured a concrete slab on which we're going to have picnic tables. We have, you can see we've installed new trees, new benches. We're trying to tidy up down there. It's slower than I want it to be, but we'll get there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And a pollinator garden.
We have a pollinator garden at the Lafayette sign, yes.
Thank you, Ben, for putting that up.
And so on that map, it's the docks at the bottom of the page. And in the packet, you'll see those are labeled floating dock, shore connection, and ramp.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
I think you might have to ask for the
was gonna-
mayor online to
Oh,
make
yes.
sure
I'm
he's
forgetting.
voting.
I'm sorry, Lee, I keep forgetting. Lee?
Aye. Aye.
Okay,
We
good.
got an aye.
And we have all yeses, so
Yep,
we're
6.
good.
Passes.
It passes.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next is resolution number 39, authorizing the recording of an offer of dedication of sanitary sewer infrastructure. And Nick, you are going to tell us more about that.
Yes, do you want to have a motion first to introduce it and then a second?
Is that typical?
It's typical we do that, yes, and then we'll
Okay.
explain it.
Can we have? a
Motion.
Second?
Second, okay. Amber and Dan?
So this is for the first of a two-step process. There's been an offer of dedication of sewer infrastructure. And seeing that it's still being constructed in accordance with approved plans from a planning board, the first step is to put on as a matter of record that there's been an offer of dedication of the sanitary sewer infrastructure, the pipes, as well as an easement to allow the city to have access to those pipes to maintain it as a public infrastructure. And so all that's being authorized tonight is allowing the owner of a property to put the world and other people on notice who might buy the property that there's an offer of dedication of the sewer line and an easement on that property to the city. After that, the second step is, and this comes back to the council, is to then accept the dedication itself in the bill of sale. That is done after the city engineer and the sewer department have inspected the pipes, confirmed that they've been built in accordance with the approved plans, and also that the County Department of Health itself has signed off on the installation. So there's a number of steps that need to be taken. I know there was comment from a speaker before about those steps not being taken. Those are being taken. Those are required under the Planning Board's approval resolution, as well as the Department of Health approvals, and by the underlying offer of dedication as well. And there will then be a maintenance bond as well to make sure that there's a guarantee as to the performance of it for 2 years, and also the developer will be paying for the inspection of the pipes for the city staff to go there and ensure that it was installed correctly.
And I would just add, our city engineer estimated that the useful life of this is at a minimum 50 years, but more likely towards 100 years. The $100,000 cost is basically the cost of putting it in today. So we've gotten the full value of that. At some point, we know everything has to be cleaned, fixed, replaced. So we felt like we came to a very fair deal with the developer that covers the city's costs for maintaining this facility.
So a member of the public asked to see a map, and I do see a map. That's in one of the attachments, the offer of dedication with the last page. Could someone walk us through what's in this map and how to read it and what we're actually talking about?
I can, Ben, if you can put it up on the screen.
Thank you.
There's a green line, I believe, on the map that shows the sanitary sewer, and there are two legs to it.
I think I see blue.
Okay, I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, there is a little green line there, I see.
Blue might be the water line.
Okay.
Yes. Ben, can you share your screen with that?
And it's the last page just before the resolution itself.
Yes, one moment.
Okay. And this sanitary sewer line starts on the property, serves the buildings, and then goes down to Branch Street where it joins the city main trunk line. And there are laterals that connect from each building into the sewer line itself.
So essentially, just to clarify, the green line with the S is the sewer line, the blue line with the W is presumably water.
Correct, yes. And you should see there are two separate sewer lines, one by the buildings to the west and then another one by the buildings on the east, which then join and then go out on Branch Street.
Yep. Thank you, Ben.
Ben, I don't know if you can zoom in. Thank you.
You can't really zoom in on the share screen, unfortunately. Apologies for that, but this can be found in the packet for everyone who's watching online.
So the green lines go up through the center of the property. And so
Right, so if you're looking on the screen, starting here in the building on the west, there's a sewer line, again, goes out to Branch Street, and for the buildings on the east, starts here, and then joins the line from the west to form one line going out to Branch Street.
And what's the rationale for taking dedication for the line that's on the private property?
In this case, it's required by the Department of Health because there's a subdivision, so it's not going to be one lot, it will be three separate lots. And Dutchess
So,
County
and it was-
requires
Because we did that law.
And,
The internal
and
lot
you either had to do a transportation corporation, which we don't really want to do here, because then you lose control of the infrastructure, and it can revert back to the city after a period of 5 years.
Okay.
So we've had a couple of circumstances like this where you have multiple property owners using the same infrastructure, and Department of Health now wants to know who's responsible for that. So some entity has to take that on. That's why we went back and we made the deal with the developer to say, look, essentially you need to put the cost of replacement up now.
Okay, thanks. And then my last question, sorry for all this, but it was a few years ago, I think it actually was 2020, and it was when we first talked about redoing the pump house, the pump station down there, down by Metro North. And at that time, there was discussion that this construction had been delayed because we didn't have the ability to process or to move the sewer water. And I guess I'm wondering, with the absence of the pump station, has that condition changed? And if it did, how? Or am I misrepresenting what the condition was in 2020?
So that's the West Main Street pump station. There was modeling done that showed that with the improvements being made with the installation of the construction of the new pump station, which the council authorized last month, if my recollection
Yes.
is correct, and this going online, not all 7 buildings at once, but being phased in over time, that the Dutchess County Health Department was satisfied with the ability for the city's sanitary sewer system to receive the sanitary flow from this development.
And the existing pump station is going to continue to operate until we transfer over. So there'll be at a point this fall, when we hope to be done, where we'll turn the one off and turn the other on.
Okay.
But we have enough capacity there right now to serve what's coming online.
Okay, thank you.
And Dan, I stated there were 3 lots. I apologize. There are 7 lots that are being created through the subdivision.
Got it. They subdivided all of them.
Yes.
Okay.
And now they get the property, they get billed on this, right? Like just like we get billed water and sewer, like somebody's getting billed water and sewer.
Yeah, and I believe it's master meters for each building, or a meter pit. I'm forgetting which it was. But
Okay.
yes, they're going to pay for water and sewer.
Okay, just checking.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion? Ready to vote? Okay, all in favor is fine?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the mayor?
Mayor
Lee?
votes yes.
Yes, okay, I think that's everybody who is yes. So we can move forward. Resolution number 40, approving amendments to the 2024 budget. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion?
Second?
Okay, that is Molly and Dan. All right.
So we talked about these last week at the workshop. We have 2 budget items that our finance director has advised me we need to do. The first is to the general fund budget to cover the cost of repairs of a piece of equipment at the transfer station, which is a Morbark grinder. It's basically the big thing that chops up all of the brush into smaller compost that can break down. That piece of equipment, which is worth about $300,000, has a bearing that's going on it. So we need to transfer $40,000 from the contingency fund to the repair of equipment fund. As I mentioned last week, that's a worst-case scenario. We're going to try to rebuild the bearing, and that would be less, but we needed to authorize this, because once you open it, you have to finish the job that you're doing once you send it off-site. The second amendment is also to the general fund, and it's to, it's to the general fund and water budget for resignations and severances that we have to pay out. So this would transfer $25,279 from 2 funds, one in the general fund and one in the water fund, to cover contingency retirement and contingency fund. This leaves us with a balance of $41,000 in contingency, and basically covers 4 employees that have left, none of which had very, very large accumulations, as you can see, but we have to pay them out. And we do budget, when we say contingency retirement, that's also for severances for people that resign.
Any questions, discussion? All right. We'll take it to a vote, and this, does it need to be one at a time, or can we do consensus, because it's...
Under
Yeah,
our
just
rules,
one.
you can do a vote
voice
voice. Yeah.
Okay.
Voice
All
vote.
right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so that is all of us approving. And next on the agenda is resolution number 41, urging the New York State Senate and Assembly to pass the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act and to expand the state's bottle bill.
Motion.
Second?
Thank you. Okay, that was Amber and Paloma. Thank you for keeping me straight, guys. All right, Chris is going to tell us
Yeah,
more
now,
about
we
that.
didn't workshop this last week, and I want to apologize for the last-minute addition. This came at the request of the Conservation Advisory Committee Chair, and then also a request from our Climate Smart Coordinator, basically saying that these or similar bills in the past have gotten really close to passage, but they hadn't passed, and that this year there's a feeling that they could pass. A number of cities have done resolutions like Rochester and Poughkeepsie supporting this. Typically, when we do these memorializing resolutions, we try to make them relevant to Beacon. Why would we do this? And for us, we as a community pay for our garbage disposal. We don't have private disposal for most of the city, although some of the commercial properties do. We pay more than $1 million a year in getting rid of our recycling and our garbage. So it would have an impact on our budget. It would also have an impact on the amount of litter as a waterfront community adjoining the Fishkill Creek and the Hudson River. We know that a lot of this litter ends up in the waterways, and then it ends up on our shores or down in the ocean. We were asked to put this on, and I thought it was relevant to what we do in Beacon. I know that this would help bring our local costs down if these passed.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see this and that it's part of what the state is considering. I've been supportive of kind of similar measures that haven't really gotten off the ground at the federal level. You know, there's a lot of emphasis placed on personal responsibility when we talk about sustainability measures, but really what we should be doing is holding those that are creating the problem accountable. And I think especially the packaging reduction piece of this does that. I think it's a very much needed thing, and I'm glad that New York State is considering doing it, so I appreciate having the opportunity to weigh in on it.
And in addition to reducing the packaging, it also removes certain toxins from it.
Yeah.
So there is a public health component of this as well.
Yeah, appreciate the CAC and our climate coordinator bringing this to us, so thank you.
I'm curious, do you know, Chris, is there any money in the bill for municipalities to help promote this, or is it something the state's going to take on if it ends up passing?
I don't know. I'm sorry, Molly, I didn't get to that level of detail.
I'm just curious because it is, you know, it has not just the Package Reduction Act, but also increases in being able to get deposits back on bottles and expanding the kinds of bottles. And so I think that's something our community would benefit from knowing. So it's something where I'm be interested. Maybe the CAC might have some thoughts on depending on also what support the state planning on offering. But I appreciate the bills have to pass first before we get to that part.
We can get an answer emailed to.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody? Lee? Mayor?
Sounds like
Lee,
an abstention.
you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. There was a hand raised. Aye, sorry. That's so I can sneeze and cough.
So you're in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. That is everything for our local laws and resolutions. Now we can look the approval of the minutes. Need a motion?
Second.
Paloma and Molly. And any discussion?
No, I had no edits.
No edits, okay. Although,
I would think that the chair would want to emphasize the importance of approving the minutes and of, any changes or adjustments. It's very important. I'm
I
smiling.
think he was trying to make a joke. It just, Lee, I think
was
your
voice isn't
coming through
connection broke a little bit, so,
All right. No comment, sorry.
but we see the intended humor.
yes. All right, all those in favor of approving the April 15th, 2024 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
And I think I hear, yep, there you go. All right, thank you, Lee. And now it's our second opportunity for public comment. If anybody who hasn't made a public comment, if they'd like to come forward now is your time.
Okay.
Not seeing anybody coming forward. Oh. We have someone.
Hope all is well. Rachel Rifkin, Ward 4. I always get this wrong now, but it doesn't matter.
Get a little closer.
This way?
Right here.
Here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you all, and in honor of Holocaust Remembrance Day, let us remember those, not only those of Jewish, there was gypsies, so let's remember that, and I would like to thank you, whatever improvements to the library that was done. I have family in town, and we enjoyed it today at the library. So we saw the difference. Thank you. And then the sewer line, that's interesting. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the upgrades.
Yeah.
And keeping our streets safe.
Thank you.
Very important. And to our police officers.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody online, Ben? Who'd like to make a public comment?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Our next meeting will be next Monday, May 13th at 7 o'clock. And we will be done with our public session of our city council meeting, as we do need to go into executive session. So can I get a motion to, and a second to go into executive session?
Motion to go into executive discussion to discuss personnel and do no public business thereafter.
Second.
Second.
So that is.
We just need a vote now, yep.
Yep, that is Molly and Amber, second, and then just need a motion to go into executive session, and then we will have no more public comment, or our public meeting after that time. So thank you for all those in the public attending.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.